The stitch that I'm showing today, I've seen it referred to in a lot of different ways. The seashell stitch, the shell, and also the basic fan and V-stitch combo. But I like to call it the easy box stitch because it gives you all the beauty of the classic box stitch without the extra effort. If you've ever tried the traditional box stitch and thought it was a little bit too intimidating, I really think you're going to love this version. It's beginner friendly and is worked up in just 4 rows instead of 8, and still gives you the gorgeous look without all the fuss. You may be looking at this and think that a 4-row repeat is still complicated, and it really isn't. The only reason there's 4 rows is because we are doing shells that are offset from each other. If you look here, you have a full shell on the side and then a half shell. Full shell, half shell. And it takes 2 rows to complete the whole look. And those 2 rows are very, very easy. And that's why this one really helps to learn this one, because you're going to do those basic 4 rows for this one as well. So if you do want to learn how to do the box stitch, just let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to do a tutorial. For the sample, I'm using a weight 4 cotton yarn with a 4mm hook. You may be hearing some weird noises in the background. That is Sadie having a little bit of a nap. So if you hear a lot of snoring in the background, you know what it is. For your starting chain, we're working with a multiple of 8 plus 2. So that just means 8, 8, 8 all the way across until you get to your desired width, and then 2 more at the very end. So for example here, I did a chain of 26. In my opinion, this is going to be the hardest row of the entire project, and that's because we're going to be filling the chains with 9 double crochets to create our shells. Because of that, the chain is going to get really wide, making it really easy to lose a chain. And I found that to be the case whether I go into the top of the chain or even in the back bump. Either way, it stretches out. So I'd highly recommend that you grab yourself a stitch marker, because I have a tip for that. To begin, add a single crochet into the second chain from the hook. 1, 2. Skip 3 chains and work a shell into the 4th chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Work your first shell of 9 double crochets. We're going to be skipping 3 chains throughout this row, so what I'd recommend you do here is do that now. Skip 3 chains and then work another stitch in the 4th chain. Go ahead and pop your stitch marker in there now. That way when this stretches out, you will have no concern of losing that chain. So I've done 1 double so far. I'm going to do 8 more into the same chain. Skip 3 chains, and then in the 4th chain, add a single crochet. And now we're doing this all the way across. Skip 3 chains and work another shell into the 4th chain. And again, I'm going to go ahead and add my stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4th chain. And continue on with my shell of 9 double crochets. Skip 3 chains and work a single crochet into the 4th. Skip 3 chains. 1, 2, 3, and then in the 4th, 9 double crochets. I didn't do a stitch marker this time because I knew I was at the end here, but you can see very clearly here how it's tightened that stitch. Very hard to see if it's a chain or not. When you reach the end, you should see 4 remaining chains. Skip 3 chains and add a single crochet into the very final chain. And you'll have something that looks like this. This was just a setup row. Now we're ready for the 4-row repeat. At this point, you can change colors if you like. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and use your favorite method. Because I've already completed the stitch, I'm just going to work into the side of the stitch. Just these 2 bars on the side. They're a bit snug. Bring in the new color. Release the old. Turn your work. The first 2 rows of the 4-row repeat is going to be creating a half shell. Chain 3. This is going to serve as your first double crochet, so if you prefer, you can do a chain 2 or stacked single crochets. I'm just going to stick with a chain. Next, add a double crochet into the very first stitch, right at the base of the chain you just made. Chain 2. And now we're going to add a single crochet into the middle double of our shell. That's the 5th double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're working a single crochet into the 5th double. Chain 2, skip the remainder of the 4 doubles of that shell and work a V-stitch into the single crochet. So we're skipping 4 doubles, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here is your single crochet in between the shells. It's a little bit hard to see because we're on the back side of the work. If you have trouble seeing it, just flip it over to the front and look for your single crochet. Place your hook through to see where your stitch is going. To do our V-stitch, we're doing a smaller kind of V-stitch. We're doing a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Usually it's a chain 2, just a chain 1 here. So a double, chain 1, and then another double into the same stitch. And now we're just going to repeat this all the way across. Chain 2, and work a single crochet into the center of the shell. That is the 5th double crochet. Chain 2, add a V-stitch into the single between the shells. Remember, we're just doing a chain 1 instead of a typical chain 2 for a V-stitch. Chain 2, single into the center of the next shell. Chain 2. To complete the row, do 2 double crochets into the very last stitch. So skipping over the 4 doubles of the shell, 1, 2, 3, 4, you should see a single crochet available. Add 2 double crochets into it. Turn your work and chain 3. This chain 3 serves as your first double crochet. Next, add 4 double crochets into the V-stitch below. This has created your half shell on the side. Skipping the chain, work a single crochet into the previous single. Skipping over the chain, create a full shell in the V-stitch below in that chain 1 space. Skipping over the chains, work a single crochet into the previous single. Skip over the chains and work a full shell in the V-stitch in that chain 1 space. Single crochet in the previous single. And then when you come to the end of the row, add 5 double crochets into the V-stitch below. Now technically these are not V-stitches on the side, they're just 2 double crochets, but they're behaving as a V-stitch to hold your half shell. Getting ready for row 4, turn your work. And now we're getting ready to do the row that is a full shell on the side. Chain 1 and add a single crochet into the very first stitch. Chain 2. And now we're doing a V-stitch into the single crochet from the previous row. We're skipping the 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, working into the single with a V-stitch. So that's a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 2, that helps us get across to the middle of the next shell. Work a single crochet into the 5th double, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chain 2, skip the 4 double crochets and work a V-stitch into the single crochet below. And we're just doing this all the way across now. Chain 2, a single into the middle of the shell, that's the 5th double, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chain 2, V-stitch into the single. Mine is very loosey-goosey there, but I think you can see it. Chain 2, and when you reach the end, add a single crochet into the very last stitch. Looks like I did a chain here, so I'm going to do my best to work into the top of the chain. Just do whatever makes it look the best to you. Not quite sure, I'm kind of in that chain, but that looks pretty good, so I'm going to leave it there. For row 5, we're going to turn our work and chain 1. And single crochet into the very first stitch, and then work a shell into the V-stitch. So you're skipping all the chains, that first double, working into the V-stitch into that chain space with 9 double crochets. Skip the chains and work a single into the previous single. Skip the chains and work your shell stitch into the V-stitch below, into the chain space. And I think you pretty much get the idea here. We're just doing this all the way across. Shell, single, shell, single. And then to complete the row, add a single into the very last stitch. And that's all there is to it. You're just going to repeat rows 2 through 5 until you complete your project. So as you can see, that is really, really simple, right? That is the basic concept for the box stitch. It is that same 4-row repeat, but because it's a 3D effect, the 2 rows to create the shell, you're actually going to add 2 more extra rows to help make that 3D effect. So once you get the hang of that, you're really going to love this one. Those 8 rows will be a breeze. When you complete your project, you are going to have one side that has a scallop and then one side that is flat. So if you want to straighten out your scallop here, that's really easy to do. I'm going to weave in these ends real quick. And then I'm just going to fasten in on the very first stitch on the side. The very first single there. with a slip stitch. And all I'm doing here is I'm just going to use varying heights of stitches to get up to the tip or the top of the shell to straighten it out. Work 3 chains. You could have done a standing double here or stacked singles. I'm just keeping it very simple today with chain 3. Maybe a little high, but we're just going to stick with that for now. Maybe a chain 2 would work better. Then I'm doing a double crochet in the next stitch. I'm going to move to a half double in the next. And then a single in the next. Single. Then in that middle stitch, I'm going to try a slip stitch, a very loose one. And then repeat what I just did. Single, single, half double, double, I could work possibly a treble here and the single crochet would work, but I'm just going to stick with the double crochet in there. And then continue on with that sequence. So double, half double, single, single, slip stitch. And that's not too bad. But just play around with this, see what looks best to you with your hook, your tension, your style. And when you come to the other side, you're just doing the same thing, but working your way down. As you're playing around with this, a really big tip I have for you is to remember whatever your starting chain was and use that as your guide for when you're straightening out your stitches above. So for example, I started with a chain of 26. And technically I created 25 stitches with that. So my goal up here would be 25 stitches. So if you work stitches into every single stitch of that row, you're going to find that it probably expands on you or gets a little bit wavy. So it will take some playing around and experimenting to see what works best for you with your hook, your yarn, and your stitch count. But I will be sure to add a sequence in the description box below to get you started. You're just varying the heights to help straighten out that edge. I'd like to thank my sponsor for the video today, Biscuit, for providing all the beautiful cat hair that you saw in the video today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.